Morning, welcome to the Scrutiny Committee for People. This morning we are looking at the midterm review for education, 22 to 24. I guess I need to read this out to you before we commence. The Scrutiny Committee meeting is conducted on a hybrid basis in accordance with Local Government and Election Laws Act 2021. We will operate alongside the Council Standing Orders. Council Standing Orders and Code of Conduct will apply at all times during this virtual meeting in the same way as ordinary meetings, and members should conduct themselves accordingly. I remind members that this meeting is being live streamed on to the public. Please can those attending switch off the cameras and mute your microphones when you're not speaking to ensure there is no unnecessary background noise. Can I remind members to ensure that the chat function is switched on and that you use that facility to indicate to me when you wish to speak on a particular item. Please do not speak until you're invited to do so, and remember to unmute your microphone and indeed switch your camera on. A recorded version of this meeting will be uploaded for public viewing as soon as possible after the meeting. Welsh translation of the proceedings can be provided upon request. The images and sound recordings may also be used for training purposes within the council. Thank you and good morning and welcome everybody to today's meeting. It's very cold outside and it's quite warm inside here, which is nice. So, do we have any apologies for? That's the right check. That's not right. Any further apologies for absence? Any declarations of interest? When it comes up, please just make us aware. Minutes from the previous meeting are on pages 3 to 6. Any matters arising? Okay. Do we have a mover? Yep. And seconder. Thank you. All in favour? Aye. Good. Okay, that takes us to item 4 on the agenda, which is the midterm report for education. We're going to start this on page 13. Start the review here, page 13 and 14 and 15. And on page 15. Sorry, it's page 16, how I numbered that being excused down here. The head of service executive summary. So the chief education officer, you can take us through this.
Chair, I'd like to pass on the link to the tablet over for matters of education.
By all means, we can have Councillor Davis take us through that.
Thank you very much.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, and thank you all for the invitation to attend Scrutiny this morning. I just can't believe that we're already in our mid-year review. I just don't know where the time's gone. It's unbelievable. But again, I'm here with a really positive report. As you can see, Basilisk School has now been completed and signed off, with the new building being fully utilised by its students, with the additional provision for 300 places. And it's a sustainable 21st century build that hits our carbon neutral targets. The new ASD unit in Langwyn has now been established, which can be easily accessed by those students who live in the east of our city. This reduces the need to spend on out-of-county placements and it also enables us to reduce the impact on our NEA resources. It's also good to see a successful rollout of universal preschool meals in all of our primary schools. This is 8 months earlier than the required start that Welsh Government demanded. Children can now access a hot meal, and for many of them, we have to remember this will be the only hot meal of the day. It makes a massive difference. I'm really proud that we've achieved this ahead of time. Finally, Eston have recently praised the new additional news system, the ALM provision mapping, that's been effectively implemented across all our schools. Citing this as work that needs sharing as best practice. We continue to have no esting categories, and our internal audit team were impressed with our school's admissions team and Ysgol Glyndwr's score, and they've both been praised. As we look at the report, it's a real positive that 25 out of 28 action points are rated as green. Indications that these are on track to be completed and have been successfully delivered. The 3 actions are rated as amber, and I'd hope this suggests they remain deliverable but may run over the agreed delivery date, and they are all capital build related issues, an area which has struggled with inflationary rising costs, sourcing materials, and the sourcing particularly of the skilled workforce. However, please be assured the specific capital projects are regularly scrutinised to iron out the challenges, and I'm also kept fully briefed regarding these issues. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, page go straight into the report on page 17. 18. 19. Page 20.
Chair. I just wanted to mention Millbrook School, as it says on page 20. Lost it. In the amber, 20% completed. It says about that it should be demolished as soon as possible. How long as possible?
Do you want to pick that up? Obviously,
Thank you, Deborah.
that's great. Cabinet agreed in September that they would go for the early demolition of the school. So we have commissioned our work through Newport. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as just going up there with, so we do have to go through the necessary planning approvals. But we've commissioned those to undertake that. The programme suggests completion that unfortunately that project won't be completed until next summer, because of the time involved in taking those approvals forward, appointing a contractor, ensuring there's a safe system of work, etc. But we remain on target for June, July of next year. So before the end of the academic year, before the summer holidays kick in, the building should be fully demolished. And in the meantime, obviously, we've increased security on the site. There's new fencing, there's CCTV, we've got security guards, obviously to hopefully support the issues of the school that was based in.
Back in 7 holidays, you don't have time to do a lot by young people.
Yes.
Yes.
By the end of this academic year, the building will be down, so we won't be repeating those issues next summer holidays. You are correct. It does seem a long time from September when that approval happened until next June, but that is because of the approval process that we need to go forward with.
Thank you, Deborah. It's just that I've had lots of residents and parents continually asking us what's happening to Millbrook, how soon can we move back? It's a never-ending story at the moment.
Yeah, and in terms obviously of what's
going to happen, nice to give the parents some information.
Yeah, so obviously the parents were advised at the beginning of September that we wouldn't be looking to reoccupy the current building, and instead we'll be looking at a replacement school build. That will be our priority project under the next wave of investment under the Sustainable Communities for Learning programme. So we've got to put our programme into Welsh Government by March of next year. As I said, that will be our priority project. Secure the funding to support that, we will be able to take you forward.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, okay. Do we have any other questions on building school? We do for a report every 6 months on school, as you know. But I'll take this time as a privilege. Scrutiny will take that now. Is there an I'm asking you to gaze now into the future. There's been lots of rumours flying around about this. I want to try and kill some of these unnecessary rumours if it's possible. Is there a completion date or an anticipated or an expected, what are we looking at? So we know we are going to demolish next year in the summer. We know that's a fix. We know we're applying for extra funding in March. We know that's a given. Whatever projected,
Getting a letter to parents as best informed as possible at the moment. We were able to communicate that the earliest completion date would be January 26th. That is the earliest completion date. Unfortunately, I'm unable to give you a timeline for, you know, the worst case scenario, I suppose.
so we're looking at January 26th, and let's just take that as a.
Yeah, and there's too many unknown factors.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
after the bills, we don't, if there'll be any delays in terms of planning. So it really is very difficult to answer.
Absolutely. Can you ensure that the committee is kept up to date, scrutiny, as you say? And obviously there'll be further reports to come on the Newport situation. Okay, thank you. Page 21.
Can I just add something there, Chair?
Yes, please.
I was just, I know I asked this last time. I was just wondering, it was mentioned that 1.2 of education employees are actively earning, well, it's just fine. What number of actual employees does that equate to?
Councillor Hens, I'd have to come back to you because I believe that the it represents partnership organisations as well. So, for instance, we host 2 regional services with GEMS and Went Music, and those are our employees in Newport. That often makes education employee figures larger than they actually are. The core staff are a much lower cohort of people. Regardless, we invest the same amount of support, supervision, management time into those services as well. It's just important to us. They develop their Welsh language skills as well. But if I told you the number based on 1.2% today, I might be telling you something that's inaccurate. But I'm not sure if I'm basing it on those regional services or just the small cohort of education staff. So can I come back to you on that?
So does it include teachers as well?
No.
No.
This is just central services.
Right. Okay. And can I just check with the Welsh, what would be kind of the measurable outcome of progress by March 24? What's the sort of goal?
I believe it's the use of incidental Welsh on it. So being able to speak to colleagues, you know, with greetings. It's more than just greetings. It's more conversational based, because I think that actually the hellos, goodbyes, the formalities is too basic. We're trying to get beyond that, but there certainly is a marker. I believe there's a 5-staged approach to be able to define how you gauge your uptake of Welsh language. So that we've got all that written down, and again, I will give you more clarity on that.
Yeah, it would be great to know that. Thank you.
Thank you. Page 29. 22. 23. 24. 5. 26. 27.
Yes, Chair. Yes. Is there an identifying link between poverty and school absence pupils and attainment?
Yes, in terms of attainment, absolutely. There is that link. Lots of research on that, and that's why we make sure that we operate lots of practice, such as the RADI approach, which is raising the achievement of disadvantaged young people. And that's taken from places like Tower Hamlets, where there's huge amount of deprivation, and they've been successful in raising the attainment of young people. Yes, there is a link between poor attendance and poverty, but we don't overlook the fact that actually there can be low attendance in all families, and there can be poor attainment right across the board, clearly more with disadvantaged young people. And that's why we focus on, number one, progress of learners. Are all learners making progress right across the board? And the second aspect, we look at all young people's attendance. We ask schools to drill down to every single young person and child in their school so that we can see patterns and we can put support mechanisms in place to be able to support all groups of learners.
Yes. So one of the things to deter pupil absence is fining of parents. What I'm trying to say is, if the parents who are being fined are more are poorer than the average, I see a problem in that.
I can understand you. It feels uncomfortable, doesn't it?
Mm.
What I can assure you of is when we work with schools, there's a whole menu of different things that we expect schools to look at, and we expect to support schools with as local authority. Okay? And the list includes things like making sure there is an attendance cluster policy for all schools in the same cluster operating the same type of attendance expectations. That's important, isn't it? That your next door neighbour has the same set of expectations as you. We need to ensure there is first day response in schools. It's important, isn't it? Because that can be preventative in children staying off for long periods of times, or families getting into poor attendance habits. We expect a senior leader in school to be appointed to look at attendance because it's so important. We expect schools to drill down into their data to look at individual codes. There are a number of codes you can use for attendance, and sometimes you can code incorrectly. Worse still, sometimes a code can be missing and give a poor insight, a poor reflection of attendance. We expect as well a flow chart to be followed of different steps of supporting parents and also creating that bit of challenge as well. Because it is important that if children are not in school, clearly their attainment will be affected at some point. Okay? So fixed penalty notices are almost a last resort, and probably at least 10 to 15 activities have been carried out in conversation with a family before we ever get to that stage. You can even put something in place which is a bit of a pre-warning to a fixed penalty notice. And what's important is although it can be very uncomfortable, it is the obligation of the parent to always send their children to school. That is a legal requirement for everybody. It's a young person's entitlement. I think that we have to be the child's advocate in this circumstance to make sure they get the best quality education. It's a last resort, bearing in mind their financial circumstances. However, we also know that it works. And the schools that have gone through the fixed penalty notices as that last resort demonstrate improved attendance significantly.
So many fixed penalty notices have been issued in Newport.
I can't tell you, I can get back to you on that, but they've certainly started to be reintroduced. There was that gap of COVID, which was really important that we kept that there. And if sometime before we got back to fixed penalty notice, a cabinet member will be able to tell you that we were all particularly measured because of the cabinet member on that decision. But it felt like the right decision for children and their families under the circumstances. But I can certainly let you know the number.
The written directive from Jeremy Miles that that was issued to us as local authorities to start recommencing FPNs, but it's part of the head teacher's toolkit. It is a final measure, but however, a head teacher always has that discretion.
Councillor Drew just asked my question. I was going to ask how many fixed penalties have gone out. It's usually the same families, isn't it, from primary school into the high school. What you notice is, as I said, the schools that are bringing those through as referrals and improving their attendance.
Do we have a current active reporting between the schools and the education authority?
It's informal and voluntary at the moment because the key performance indicator for attendance isn't required by Welsh Government at present. So all this kind of post-COVID, that hasn't gone back into the public domain. However, because we have such strong collaboration with those schools and they're willing to work with us because they see it as a supportive mechanism, they share their data generally. Well, I would say the majority, 95% of our schools have also continued to set attendance targets, which they haven't got to do. And that gives them a goal to aim for and to report back to their governing bodies as well to show where their attendance was perhaps pre-COVID and how it's improving over time.
Thank you. You say that the majority of schools actually report back to you. How many schools are we speaking about? Why aren't the other schools reporting back? What's gone wrong there?
In terms of attendance targets, I would say probably about 3 schools didn't set attendance targets, and they didn't have to. You can't make, a school does have to do it on a voluntary level. The second aspect around reporting on attendance generally is a statutory requirement. However, because primary head teachers largely have been involved in action short of strike, under that guise, they did not have to report their attendance. I would say that 2/3 of Newport primary schools did, and 1/3 didn't, which was frustrating for us to be able to get a bigger picture on verified attendance. We still had a general picture on it. Action short of strike finished over a week ago now in primary schools. Now, there is a specific issue here because we always work in collaboration with trade unions. That's really important, especially when we're with our head teachers who are absolutely fantastic in Newport, by the way. And why would we work with them? They're one of our most precious pieces of the workforce. They're really important to us. And there's been a national request that we consider a transition back from action short of strike into perhaps our normal processes. However, attendance verification has been prioritised nationally. Okay, so that will happen immediately. That will be reported. Other systems and processes will be delayed slightly until spring term.
Can you keep committee updated on the progress of that? And thank you for your honesty. We mentioned fixed penalty notices and how they work. I'm not going to ask you to produce the evidence today, but I am going to ask you to produce evidence to suggest that they work or don't. So, and have committee have a look at the percentages of working and not working, so that we can see and we're able then to possibly the committee advise the cabinet member accordingly. At the moment, we are hearing that there is evidence, but we don't know there's evidence because we haven't seen it. So if you could provide that for us going forward, you don't have to answer it today.
Yeah, just one point on that. I might need to look at pre-COVID evidence on the basis that those attendance figures were in the public domain, where currently they're not.
Yes, that's okay. We'll do that. Thank you. Okay, thank you for your question. Paige.
Can I just ask a question?
What page are you on?
We're hearing a lot in the media about teachers that are having to take food in for children and washing their clothes and everything like that, which in this day and age is diabolical. What are we seeing in Newport schools with regards to that? Is being on the poverty line, is that affecting our teachers in the sense that they're having to do things like that because our children family count?
So, I mean, the first thing to say is that we're fortunate in that we've got free breakfast clubs,
Yes.
so that really helps immensely. And there's the ability to be able to, if the child appears to be having furious, assess that they're having that we can give them a banana or something. And first thing in the morning, which is really important. And we've got the universal already free school meals as well, which is really helpful.
But lots of other schools do have food banks as well for families. And there's lots of them across the city. I couldn't say the number, but every time I visit a school, I certainly see a food bank there, and we can collate those numbers. That's not a problem. The other aspect we see as well is the uniform banks. But we're supporting schools with a poverty roadshow at the moment, and it's basically taking council services and what we can do in education to a school community, and parents can visit a number of schools and see what they could be entitled to, and we're trying to make it easier for them to access things through benefits, etc. And it enables us to move into another organisation. So of late, we were looking to bump into an organisation who are able to support us with brand new uniforms. I mean, when you see lots of the uniform shops, they have been worn those uniforms, and it can save families such a lot of money. And we're extending that as well. We're talking about football boots as well as just your basic uniform items. Those type of sports things are barely used, do they, because children's feet grow so quickly. But to make these links, incidentally, has been fantastic for us. We're also doing a community-focused schools project, which is all about supporting the community, the wider school community, and supporting with more after-school clubs, more cooking classes, cooking on a budget, etc. So we have a network, we call it FACE Networks, with the families and community engagement project, and we're able to give those schools some Welsh Government funding. So going back over a year ago, we were able to distribute that money to 10 schools. We've now distributed it to a large number of schools, more than just perhaps the most deprived, taking into account that every school, which might on the face of it look like it's got a lot of affluence, has got pockets of deprivations within it. So we're trying to share the funding out a bit more and to share that good practice.
Yeah, because I mean, uniform, especially in the high school, the uniforms are so expensive.
Yes, yeah.
But it's always brought to attention as well, the fact that branded school uniforms. And I think is there a way that, I say like school uniforms, which are absolutely amazing. But if you've got a family where 3 children, or you've got 4 children in high school, that's a hell of a lot of money for uniforms that they have to pay out because they have to have branded uniforms. But there should be a way of accommodating those on the lower bracket and being able to buy clothes that are not necessarily branded.
I got an example here, something that goes on at 90, if you want me to describe that.
And the legislation's changed. I'm sure the legislation's changed.
Can I come in here?
Just a second.
And there's 3 aspects really. There's number one, that Welsh Government's changed the duties of governing bodies from this September. We've notified all governing bodies about that in determining their uniform, they must give due regard to the concepts of non-branded uniform. It is a governing body decision, but they should be more widely available rather than from one shop, for instance. The second aspect is that those that are eligible for universal benefits can have a free school uniform grant in year 7, which I recognise uniform does have to be bought on a repeated basis, but for those items like blazers, they can last more than a couple of years in some circumstances. Is that everything?
What I would say, you talked about schools having washing machines. That's absolutely the case, and it's been the case for probably 7 or 8 years. I've gone to schools and I see washing machines, particularly in I see them more and more in primary schools, but particularly in secondary schools. You've got young children, young people going in, and there's washing machines provided in the institute support areas, and they're going to wash their own clothes because they haven't got washing machines at home. They can't change their own uniform. That's been a way schools have been supporting people for a long time, very discreetly, but appropriately when needed.
No, I was just going to say there's an example here of something that's going on at 90 primary, where they distribute pre-loved uniforms. So they have a shop And they provide every family with one set of uniform with a recycling facility where families can purchase 3 items, which can include coats and shoes for just £1. And then the money that they collect goes towards to supporting the food bank they operate off the site as well. So it's going back into the community. So that's just a really good example of the work that's going on there. And through a member of our team, they've been able to link with New Life, which is the shop down at Mace Glass Retail Park. And New Life are now providing Mainty with new uniform where they've got excessive stock that can go towards supporting the shop facility that they've got there. They're also looking then to as well they can expand that to include a click and collect option that could support the whole of Newport and not just the Mainty area. So that's still at an early stage, but just shows the work that's going on around cost of living through these anti-poverty workshops.
It was brilliant, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just wanted to share with I'm governor at Newport High, and I was in a meeting last week with the deputy head, and they're currently doing a consultation with young people on their uniform. And I think they're going to change it to just a black polo shirt with no logo on to becoming guidelines. Some of the parents can't afford it, you know, the branded things. So that consultation is going on at the moment in Newport High. But most of the schools I know in my area, they've got the hub as well. They've got uniform, like a, you know, you can go and help yourself to uniform and whatever. Yes.
It is something that that bothers me a lot, is that, you know, we're helping out the fathers at school, which is absolutely brilliant. And I mean, Wales have done brilliant, especially Newport. But it does bother me a lot that the poorest of society are left behind, and that attainment level is going to be very low. Their school attendance is going to be very low if they haven't got the uniform. But we all know people that are very proud and won't ask.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that, you know, what is coming out and what is being done to combat those situations.
There's also some good loan schemes of scientific calculators and laptops as well in lots of schools, where they're reaching out by sending a letter to all parents, so it could be done on a really discreet basis.
Yeah.
Nobody's got to ask.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we were encouraging schools to do more of.
what's the house?
The one if Dad wants to just.
I was just thank you. What I was just going to add is you've also got to bear in mind for there's a period poverty, and that hits on attendance really badly. So through Welsh Government funding, all our schools have period projects which are free. All our community hubs now have free period projects, and it's known that young girls will take them home for family use as well, because it's not just young people in school who are struggling because of the cost of period projects, it's their mothers as well. So we know that's a massive issue, and we know all our schools across the city are supporting our young girls with that major problem.
House.
I was just thinking the poverty roadshow sounds like really, really an opportunity that probably a lot of people, a lot of our wards would be interested in. So I was just wondering, how do you sort of select who's going to go to those, and is there a way that we can signpost people to it?
Yes, we can only do so many because our office staff supporting that. So we've asked them to look at only doing one event for once, one every half term. But we certainly would like to acquire waiting lists for schools to go on there. So you're welcome to spread that news. And we can do the same as well. I'm going to speak to some private ed teachers this afternoon, and I can encourage them to come forward. It is open to anybody.
So is it just the school rather than individual parents?
It is, it's the school, so the school hosts. So you can see the partnership with it then, because the school then is also describing to parents what they're doing. And the local authority then to do the collaboration, covering it having Dinas, and the school can invite other agencies in. So that can really helpful because it's their school community then. It's local, so it works out really nicely.
Probably, have we all finished? No, thank you. I'd like to see the evidence of secondary schools washing clothes for children. I'd like to see the evidence. Everything has to be evidence-based. And I'm accepting what you say, but the committee needs to have, instead of anecdotal stories, we need evidence-based. So I can speak about as governor on 2 schools myself, and there's no evidence of washing machines in action and stuff like that. So that's not saying that what you're telling me is not true. I want to see evidence of that level of poverty. The production, just a second, the production of pre-loved uniforms should be marketed not as a poverty thing, but as an environmental thing. We should take away the stigma and put that towards a way of life, because I do not believe in the throwaway society. I do believe in recycling just when you grow out of clothes. And we all do that now. None of us throw our textiles away in landfill anymore. We take it, we recycle it, we give it. And so that effect is better than attaching it to poverty.
Yeah, I don't believe that we would have given the impression that all of those schools are washing uniform. I also want to just mention as well, in the spirit of collecting evidence, I do believe in collecting evidence, but on these type of notes, schools are doing things on a voluntary basis. If I start asking them for evidence basis of who's doing what, and there becomes a bureaucratic nature of collecting data, they won't participate. And so I'm trying to do everything based on goodwill and the generosity of spirit that they're working together, and we're trying to support poverty, but it's actually not. I think Councillor Davis talked about, we hear lots in the media about schools supporting children in poverty. Not their job. It's because they generally care and they're doing their very best. And so we've got to be very careful.
I use the word great. Yeah.
Chair, in my experience as well, I have evidence, if you like, I can evidence the fact that high school, Newport High School actually takes in used uniforms. I think the staff actually wash and iron them, and then they're hung up and offered to
So it's not say me, Will goes to school and he needs his clothes washing. That's not what we're on.
I can't evidence that. No,
No, I can't evidence that either.
I'm talking about a slightly different thing.
Absolutely right. I'm with you on that.
Recycling,
We get that.
and staff recycling,
Yes.
washing and ironing, and then offering it on for free.
Absolutely right. I see evidence of that in, I haven't evidence it myself. What I was concerned was mentioned this morning. Look, Will goes to school, his clothes are dirty. I take my clothes off, I have them washed. They're put back on me. I go home. Are we on about that?
Loads of washing children's. I don't think it's appropriate that we go seeking evidence when it's unsafe to speak. For the benefit of the child as well, I don't think it's appropriate to raise those issues.
And that's why we just, as a scrutiny, we're trying to understand
I can assure
the
you.
depth of seriousness here, so we can help you. We're gonna move on now then. Page 28.
On 29, I'd like to ask what challenges refugee children, asylum-seeking children, are facing in assimilating into schools, and what challenges schools are facing in accommodating.
It's often temporary accommodation can be difficult for those families because those families don't know where they're going to be permanently located. So that's hard, isn't it? So which school are you applying for? So you can be applying for the nearest school to your temporary accommodation. And I think those children are very much in need of settling and being able to have consistency. And that's difficult, isn't it, under those circumstances, paired with as well. If you're based in a city location, if you're in a city location in a hotel, for instance, a temporary accommodation, the closest schools might be full. Therefore, your nearest school could involve a bus ride. And whilst that can be paid for if you're in a primary school and it's over 2 miles, when you're unfamiliar with Newport, those families need additional support in describing or having a worker walk the journey or travel with a family in the first instance to understand their bearings. So, but we're unable to prioritise a school for those families. Every child's got a right to statutory education. There's an image home provides refugee or asylum seeker children, and they treated in the same respect in the admissions process. That was the question.
Yes, thank you.
Page 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 33, and 34.
On page 34, on progress with the accessibility strategy, and I can see it's orange at 50%. It says strategy not moving forward as quickly as intended. Can I just ask what is intended? What are you trying to make happen in order for that to be?
Okay, so shall I pick that up? Yes, please. So we introduced the accessibility strategy a few years back. We adopted that. And there are a number of different phases to it. So the first phase was to ensure that all the children or the shared areas within the school were fully accessible. So halls, for example, making sure that there was level access to those, no steps, we introduced ramps, etc. The next phase then was around making sure the classrooms were accessible. So we're still working on that phase of the project at the moment, is around the classroom accessibility. So in terms of the progress, I would say that the implementation of improvement works under the accessibility strategy has been slower than we would have hoped. This is primarily due to initial surveys, which took longer than expected, and resourcing issues with North in kind of allocating people to undertake those projects. But the delivery of the strategy hasn't come to a standstill. There's also some considerable overlap in the aims and objectives of the accessibility strategy and Welsh Government's specific capital grants to support children with ALN. So we're now trying to spend a second capital grant of £1 million. We had £1 million last financial year, £1 million this year, and there is crossover between accessibility and ALN works. As a result, a number of projects that we earmarked for completion and for funding into the accessibility strategy have actually been delivered using the ALN grant funding. So we've kind of saved the accessibility, or we've held back the accessibility funding and spent the ALN grant funding instead because it's time limited from Welsh Government. So obviously we've progressed, once we've been notified of those grants, we've got kind of pre-scoped work where we'll prioritise those and spend that money first before we spend the council's money. As a result of this, we haven't actually spent any of the funding that the council allocated to phase 2 of the strategy, other than maybe some fees to look at design. That said, we are progressing designs now for Mawrth Church and Wales Primary, which will most likely be funded from phase 2. And the 5-year strategy that we've got sets out an ambitious plan to make improvements at 19 schools overall. 8 of these schools have seen improvements delivered. 3 more have works planned for completion of this financial year. And also a number of schools that weren't actually identified for improvements under the accessibility strategy have benefited benefited from work that we've carried out under the ALM grant. So overall, there has been significant improvement, even though maybe the narrative that's in the mid-year report doesn't properly reflect that. So I'm glad you've asked that question, because it's allowed us to quantify a little bit more about the progress that we've actually made.
So that's really good news then, because so basically you've almost got funding that you can put into extra things because the LS invested in on
Yes.
That's well, and can I just ask, when you say resourcing issues and norms,
Yes.
can I just ask what you mean by that?
So it's basically because we have a project that we want to progress, and maybe we'll ask NOS to allocate project management or design works to that. And maybe because of other competing demands on the resources that they've got available in NOS, this is seen to be a lesser priority, no matter how much we push it. But I will accept that we are asking them to do an awful lot for us across the education capital estate. So I suppose it is a question of prioritising where that greatest need lies. But please be assured, we are constantly pressing on accessibility, because we know
I guess that's not a criticism of
No.
because what tends to happen is when we've got these grants to spend in short periods and they're time limited, that can happen across the council, can't it, with those capital issues, and so they are under pressure as well. So we have to take that into consideration. They're doing their very best.
Thank you.
Okay, 55.
Yes,
Yeah.
Chair, please. I welcome the free school meals rollout to all primary pupils. Is there any research that links this to attainment, and are there plans to roll this out further into secondary education?
As far as I know, I know we haven't had any news about rolling out further than year 6. I believe there is international research around free school meals. But it's not something I've looked at specifically. I would imagine that's what Welsh Government would have looked at in terms of making that funding commitment.
Yeah, that's the free school meal rollout. It is good that we have again, it's about the language we use, free school meals, to testicle school meals for all. The indication of getting something for free isn't correct as far as I'm concerned. But however, the universal rollout of school meals for all takes away again the stigmatization that used to be associated with free school meals. Now everybody has access to school meals, and that can only be a positive thing, in my opinion. Thank you. 36. 37. 38. Section 39 on there. Then we're into 40 and 41. And the matrix at the back. And that actually concludes the midterm report. I think on balance, I think it's a very good midterm report. I can congratulate all the team and yourself. It's good to see that that things are continuing to move forward, and that, however, there are reporting that we need back, and we've noted them, and the client will write to you on those as well. But thank you very much, and it's a very encouraging midterm report. I look forward to the further report. So thank you.
Excellent. Well done as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, all comments and recommendations.
Yeah.
So noted that committee praised the encouraging report. Committee wished to ensure that the committee had kept up to date with further updates on Mawrth school completion. Thanks to Howard, comment on page 21 about the upskill current employees and focus on recruitment and Welsh being in the sector.
On that, or shall I wait till you finish?
Oh no, good. Good.
On that, do we ever have a chance to look at Welsh language levels within the teaching staff as well? Or is that sort of something completely separate that we don't have any involvement in?
I'm on the governance of the Welsh school, Cyfarfod, and I think most of the teachers have to speak Welsh.
But that is Welsh medium.
Yes.
Yes, it is, yeah.
I'm
I'm not sure about all the other schools, what qualifications they would have to do.
I just, it's going to be so important. I know it's obviously Welsh language levels are low in Newport, and I don't speak it either, but my daughter's going to go through the system here, and I can just see the jobs, the jobs that are available, the good jobs in Cardiff, in Newport, in Swansea, they will require some level of Welsh, and I just think it's such an important thing that we make sure that our kids go through the schools, even if it's not in Welsh language, we can end up with, workable levels of Welsh compared to like everyone in Carmarthen is going to be able to speak Welsh,
Oh, yes. I know.
and it is an issue.
It's on a forward work programme rather than we would look at that then as a piece of work. I think it's a valuable question. And if we put on a forward work programme and get some work done on off education, because overall, I think you're right. I think that unless we begin to embrace it meaningfully, we're going to create a generation that are de-skilled.
Yeah.
Where in regards to the rest of the Welsh workforce that actually has access to Welsh, even if within an English-speaking school, I think we need to have meaningful Welsh taught. At the end of the day, you are in Wales. Early years is vital.
My granddaughter's learning it, she's age 10 in normal school.
Yeah.
So I think most of the schools are learning it.
Yeah, you have to do GCSE, or you did when I was going through school, you have to do GCSE Welsh. But, I just think the more, especially in the early years, the more you can surround kids with Welsh, start speaking it, the better, really.
Include a comment from the head of service and to see what they advise. I'm not sure whether it would be something with the school governors that might be able to promote, but we'd certainly include it and see what they say.
Yeah,
Not
it's
at all.
interesting to know their thoughts on it. Yeah.
We can also ask for the work exams, just knowing that we can also ask for work around what kind of work education are doing on it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sam.
Councillor Druitt asked how many fixed penalty notices have been issued to schools. Last year to provide that information. Chair, you asked for the committee to be updated on the attendance. Sarah mentioned about the 3 schools set their targets. And there was discussion about the primary schools that did report this while striking. Sarah mentioned about the data, the pre-COVID attendance.
There's been a relationship to the fixed penalty notices, so they go back to pre-COVID and see the evidence there. So we have something then to look at when we go forward. At the moment, we don't know. I don't see the evidence, and I'm sure it's there. But just so that the committee can look at the benchmark then, haven't we? Going forward.
And just comment that committee welcome the free school meals rollout for all primary schools, and they know that it was good that we changed the term from free school meals, and the universal rollout takes out the statement in relation to free school meals. Was there any further comments or recommendations the committee would like me to send?
Overall, it was a very good report, wasn't it? Just a bit of green. Wasn't much in amber, which was excellent, really.
With the advice report on page 49 of the agenda is the committee's action sheet. There's 3 outstanding actions which Sam has been chased for. And the next 2 committee meetings are on Tuesday, the 12th of December, is the second round of the mid-year performance reviews. This will be adults and children's social services and the prevention and inclusion service area. We're still waiting to hear about the date for the budget proposals. But as soon as we hear back in relation to this, we'll update your calendars and let you know as soon as possible. Everything on the agenda.
Does anybody have anything to add to that? Okay. Wish to attend? Yeah. Nothing. Then thank everybody. Thank you at home for tuning in remotely. Thank you here for your great contributions this morning, and we'll see you again. But from us, goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.